No, not yet. Oh, we are now. We are now live, Patrick. Welcome. Lovely to meet you. I'm going to sing you the little song. That's how it
Okay,
all
wonderful.
starts. A quick hello to start the show. Welcome to the show, Patrick and Powers.
What a wonderful day. Way to start the day. I love it.
Yeah, okay. It's morning for you. It's morning for me. I'm in Paris. You're in the UK, right? Is that
Yep,
correct?
absolutely. Just a little bit outside of London in Surrey.
Brilliant stuff. Welcome to you. Welcome to everyone who's joined us live on YouTube. This is going to be a really great conversation because I wanted to talk to you for 20 minutes about the M in your name, and you said that won't fly for 20 minutes. But
Yeah.
I'm interested in that because of the disambiguation. Patrick Powers. There are loads of Patrick Powers. There's a volleyball player. There's a baseball player. There's an evangelical priest in the US. So as soon as you say Patrick Powers, there's great confusion. But there's only one Patrick M. Powers, and that's you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wasn't even aware of the other ones.
Oh, right. Well, my actual question was, did you do it on purpose?
Yes, I did. Well, yes and no. See, so I'm born in Denmark, and when I was around 21, I started my first business, went bankrupt really fast. And then I started to study what went wrong and what I could do right next time. And I figured out it had to do with marketing and sales. I started to read a lot of books from outside of Denmark because the libraries in Denmark back then was very limited. So I started to order stuff from Nightingale Conan and stuff like that. And I found when I started dealing with the outside of Denmark that they couldn't understand my name, right? And they were like repeating my name over and over again. It's like,
right.
So I figured out, look, if I want to make it outside of Denmark, I've got to change my name, right? So that's the first lesson there. That if you have a name, even a business name that is ambiguous or hard to pronounce, or there's multiple understandings, it just has to be something that's very, very clear to understand for the marketplace. So
right.
I chose.
There is in fact a businessman as well called Pat Powers. So, I mean, there is great ambiguity around that name. And one of the things I deal with is brand certs. And I'm doing an experiment with a company called WordLift to try and build a knowledge graph around this podcast. And one of them is to link people to the podcast. And one of the problems we have is ambiguity and multiple Pat Powers. We've got a Matthew Tenney coming up as well. There's a very famous Matthew Tenney and this not so famous Matthew Tenney. So kind of that ambiguity makes it very difficult for us to identify, to Google who is who and which is which. And for you, that would have been a problem, but it isn't. And so you were a genius and you didn't know it. Oh, you did know
it. well, let me finish the story because actually in the beginning I was not so much of a genius. Okay, so basically, I was looking for names that could be pronounced in all the major languages, and I love Irish names and Ireland, and so I like Patrick, and I found this Patrick Powers. It's just really great, but I wasn't sure if I really liked Patrick, so I found this other name, Martin. I thought, I like Martin. What was Patrick Martin Powers? If I don't like the Patrick down the road, I can always switch to Martin. And so it became Patrick M. Powers. And at that point, I actually didn't even understand the English language well enough that I realized that Patrick M. Powers actually has a different meaning to it as well.
So Patrick M. Powers.
Well, there you go. Lots of people that don't realize it until several years after knowing me. So Patrick, and I only realized it after I think about 1 to 2 years. It's like, oh my God, Patrick M. Powers, that's great. But it's definitely conscious that I've chosen to have it in there because I can see definitely it stands out from the pack. And what is insanely important to understand about marketing is that to really be good at marketing, you've got to understand how the brain works, because the brain is actually very, very irrational. The way that we make decisions are very rational. But one of the things that the brain is very almost obsessed with is change, right? So there's change in the now. So that means movement. That's why a video, for example, where somebody sits in a car and drives is much more compelling than just watching the two of us now with talking heads, right?
Right. So okay.
It's because the brain is just acutely aware of change in the environment. And if nothing changes, then the brain is basically saying, okay, there's no reason to really be very aware here. I'm safe. Everything is the same.
So
right?
we need to change the shot from time to time to keep it. Oh, I was watching a video. Now that explains something. I was watching a video of on YouTube of some legal guy who explains legal things. And what they do is every time they cut, they move the camera out or move it back in again. And that does reactivate your attention. And,
absolutely.
And it's actually just one shot.
Yeah.
They're just cheating. And that's why they're doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. And also, and also like from a editing standpoint, like if you mess up, and it just kind of looks weird if you have a cut where you messed up and you do another one and there's just a slight different and it just changes. But if you zoom in and out, it just becomes natural, right? So anyway, but yeah, so movement all the time, even in your voice. If you have a very monotone voice, if I was talking like this all the time with the same tempo and the same pitch,
just gone to sleep,
you'll be really right. Boom, like so. The more variation you have in your voice. In the tempo, you'd speak fast, and then you speak slowly from time to time, and you have pauses. The more variation you have in anything, the more the brain pays attention to it. Right, so, and obviously, that's also plays into if people have seen something multiple times, if they've seen the same claims in your niche, if they've seen the same headlines, the same kind of things in your marketing, people just simply not paying attention to it. Because they don't have to. Now, if there are changes in the environment, the brain has to pay attention to it. And that's what's really so interesting. There is no choice. But you don't have a choice.
In this particular circumstance where we can't really move around, all we can do is change our voices like this. Or we can put those signs that Anton's putting at the bottom, which force people to repay attention.
Yeah.
So, Anton, can we have another sign at the bottom to get people back in sync? No, okay. Yes, we can.
There we go. There we go.
And that gets people back. Brilliant. Okay, so Anton is actually really very good at this, and he was saying that's called quick cut when you do that cutting backwards and forwards.
Yeah. But the interesting thing is, if there are significant changes in the environment, your brain doesn't have a choice whether to pay attention to it or not. Right. Okay. So that's why I put the M in. I continue to do that, and obviously it kind of becomes a brand now. Patrick M Powers.
All right, we're back to the M. Excuse me. Second question was, you have the longest title to a book I've ever seen in my life, and the first thing I thought about it was, doesn't that mean that in some sites you can't actually put the whole title because you're limited to like 128 characters?
Oh, which one was those? I mean, I've written several books.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, it's the one that, hang on, I'm doing a live search on your name because you have the honor of being the first person.
Was it 87 ways to build your marketing business?
No, turn your contacts into cash, how to turn everyone you meet and know into an endless stream of hot prospects, referrals and money using street smart networking tactics.
Oh, okay. No, so that's not the title. It's turning contacts into cash is the title, and the other one is the subtitle.
Oh, right. Okay. So now we have a problem of that Google has got confused and it thinks that is the whole title, which is phenomenally long. And the question is, where does it get that from?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't do a title that long. It's actually, now that you bring it up, it's actually quite important with titles and headlines that they're as short as possible. The shorter the better. If you can get the title down to a 3-word title, again, because the brain actually hates complexity. Right, the more simple something is, the more the brain likes it.
Right. Okay.
It's not just like say stupid people that they have to have some things very, very simple. No, it's literally the brain favors something simple over something complex.
And when you say short, I mean it doesn't matter if it makes specific grammatical sense.
Yes and no. I mean, if it can, it's probably better. But what's also important in a headline for an ad or a title, because a title basically is a headline, right? The purpose of a headline and an ad is to grab attention and to get people to read the next, like the sub-headline or whatever, and get into the sales letter. Same thing with the title. The only purpose of the title is to grab attention and get them to read what's this about, right? To grab the book and read more about it. So really, again, the only purpose of the title is to grab attention. So a title can actually be ambiguous, right? It can be a little bit confusing as long as it stops people in their tracks and get them to read it. Okay. So in some cases, it doesn't have to be grammatically correct if it grabs attention and gets them to read the next thing.
So your title was very short, and then you had the longer subtitle, and the idea was you get somebody in, then you get somebody more interested, and then they start reading the preface, and then they want to buy the book, and you've made a sale.
Exactly. Yes.
And you're a little bit richer or a little bit less poor, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah. One of the best titles I've ever seen and heard was "Read This or Die."
Oh yeah, I've heard that one before. It creeps me out. I mean, I would definitely not read it just for that reason.
Oh, really? Okay. You wouldn't be curious?
It sounds like a threat, and I don't like threats. And I would actually not read it out of principle, pure principle.
Oh, okay.
Just saying, I'm not reading it because I know they're trying to get me to read it with this shock title.
Yeah.
But then I was a punk as a kid. So basically, if you tell me to do something, I'll do the exact opposite. So I'm a bad example.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So now on to standing out from the crowd without doing anything particularly stunningly brilliant. Anton's just put "watch this or die" at the bottom, so he's teasing me. Right. So standing out from the crowd. Oh yeah, and if anyone in the audience who's watching now wants to ask a question, please do feel free. We're into the meat of the topic, which is how to stand out from the crowd without doing anything special. Yep. Now, I stand out from the crowd, and I think I'm special. So does my mum. What did you do to stand out from the crowd?
Okay, so first of all, you got to be different, right? And in all aspects of what you do. So that also comes into play when you go out do networking, right? And I do lots of networking with Entrepreneurs in London Meetup group. We do tons of networking events, and the people you meet there, they're just the same. They're just like the same kind of handshake, the same kind of introductions, the same everything, the same dress. They just try to fit in, which is also a subconscious need, but we have to raise above that subconscious need, which is just a default way to be, that we're comfortable in that comfort zone there. But you just have to consciously, you make a conscious choice that you want to be different. So for me, it was all about having a little bit more energetic handshake when I go to networking, or being a little bit more present. That's very, very important. Being more present and saying something that also is unusual, right? So for example, lately I've started to use what I call transformational questions instead of transactional questions. So we only have very few minutes. So just very, very short example. A transactional question would be, so how's it going? Or how have you been? It's a question that you can answer without any conscious thought.
Right, fine.
And if they can answer with any conscious thought, they will. But just, oh, I'm fine. How was your weekend? But if you ask,
great, thank you.
Hey, there you go. But if I ask you, Jason, what was the best part of your weekend?
Oh dear, yeah. Eating a sandwich with my daughter in the park, in the Marais, in the middle of Paris, in the sun.
Wonderful. So there's two things. First of all, you have to think about it. Therefore, you come off the autopilot. Yep. And that's super important when we're engaging with each other, that you're just not on autopilot. You have to be present. Presence is necessary for a real connection to happen, like a real deep connection.
So you immediately stand out for me as a human being because you've made me think.
Absolutely. But yeah, you're also getting off of that autopilot, which makes you present, and you're present to me now as well, right? Okay. So, but the second thing that happens is that I gain some very valuable information about you and what's important to you, right? So I learned something important about you, that you're a family man. You love your daughter and you love the son, and that moment. It's so when we're learning stuff about ourselves, like who we really are, bonding takes place, right? So that's one way that I stand out in networking, is to ask deeper, probing questions that is actually more personal.
Right. Okay. So far to stand out, all you've done is ask a slightly different question to normal.
Yeah, and that's enough. That's literally enough, right?
Okay.
So another way to, there's so many ways to stand out, but even if you're completely the same as the competition, here's one way that you can stand out. And for example, let's say you're a coach, you're a consultant, trainer, and you have a method to, say, influence other people, right? Like myself, for example, I teach influence. So and you can say you have 3 steps to more influence. Well, again, you've heard that a million times before.
Mm.
But what if you label your method a specific name?
Okay.
That way, it sounds like you're different. Like, for example,
I've got it. The empowerment method, and then we're back with empower.
There you go.
Brilliant. We've got it.
There you go. Yeah.
I won't charge you
Now
for that.
Now I came up with the word quickfluence.
Oh,
right?
All right, that's better. Sorry, you won't charge me for that.
Right? There we go. So it's really unique,
brilliant.
and it kind of says what it is in the Tim. I teach people how to connect and build trust with other people really, really quickly, so you can influence them. Right?
Okay.
So it's the quickfluence. It's a little bit hard to say this early in the morning. Quickfluence method, and thereby, I have something that is unique, even though it could be exactly the same as my competitors. Does it make sense?
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing is I'll remember Quickfluence for 2 reasons. One of which is because it's memorable. The other of which is because it's different. And the other of which is because Anton just put it on the screen and it woke me up. So Quickfluence is going to stick in my brain. And that's a really nice kind of triplet that really works.
Yep.
Keep going. Sorry. So you've stood out because you found this original word. You've asked an original questions. Quickfluence and Anton's on form.
Yeah. So yeah, if you have some intellectual property, you brand or you call your method something unique, right? Yeah. The second thing is, and there's a famous copywriter marketer in the beginning of last century that got a client. It was a beer company called Schlitz. And Schlitz beer was nobody in the market at that point. I think they were number 17 in the marketplace. And so he went to see the brewery and to find out their uniqueness and whatever. And he saw that they were really cleaning the I think they call the vats, the barrels, whatever where the beer were stored. All the pipes were like steam cleaned like every 24 hours or whatever it was. And he said, well, that's really amazing. Why do you do that? Well, it's because we want to keep it really clean and pure, right? And he went to find out that they dig wells 300 feet deep to find the right type of water, clean water, even though they had the river just next to it. And said, well, why do you do that? Well, again, to get the real purity of the water and the right softness of the water so that it gets the best taste and so on and so on. So he found all these interesting methods that they were using. And he said, why are you not telling the marketplace this? And they said, well, because everyone brews beer this way. Right? But the thing is, no. At that point, everybody was apparently.
I don't know. Sorry, excuse me. Sorry, I thought like kind of to insult Heineken is they just stick it all in a big corner, brew it all up, and chuck it out, and pay absolutely no attention to this other type of water.
No, the point was that they assumed that because everyone was just doing it that way, that they shouldn't tell the marketplace about it. But here's the thing: nobody had told the marketplace about that. So what they did was they said, we're the purest, and everybody was just saying that they were the purest at that point. They're the purest. There was the thing to say about beer that they were pure. Right. Okay. We were talking about almost 100 years ago. So what they start doing is they explained why they were the purest. So we dig the well 300 feet. We do this. We clean the pipes. We do this. We do this. We do this. We're the purest. And they literally went to number 1 in the marketplace within a short time. Brilliant. So what's really important something is you have a process. If you have a process that even though it's the same as the marketplace, if nobody else is really telling people about the process, then how can people appreciate what's behind it and how much work you put into it as well?
Okay, right. You've given me a great idea because I'm selling online courses about brand SERPs, how to improve your brand SERP. And my big sell is that I actually did the videos properly, standing up, scripted them all. They're really, really, really focused so that every minute has incredibly valuable information in it. And I spend a whole day doing the slide deck behind me that supports what I'm saying with written and illustrations and examples. And it's the time I've put in that gives it the value. How about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm not telling people. Sorry.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and it could be as simple as saying, look, I put 30,000 hours I have 30,000 hours of research and experience and hard work and learning and whatever. And be like, wow, 30,000 hours, right? Well, your competitors also might have 30,000 hours, but now it suddenly sounds like, wow, you're really serious about this. You're passionate about this. This is not just a job. This is your purpose.
But
right?
so basically, you're saying about 30,000 hours, whatever it might be. I mean, what I'm doing is not special, but I'm standing out because I'm pointing it out to people.
Exactly, because if your competitors are not pointing it out, then suddenly you are standing out.
Okay, jolly good.
Right?
So I can not be special and still stand out. Right, so we've got questions. We've got super duper names that people haven't thought of. We've got moving the camera around, which I can't do, and we've got having. We put 30,000 hours to prepare this episode, which is absolutely true. Patrick was here 30,000 hours before we started talking about what we were going to talk about. What else is there that we can do? Because I'm really enjoying this because it's given me lots of ideas of. Because I was thinking the red shirt would do it. Is the red shirt enough to stand out?
Yeah, I would say so. That's pretty unique.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I was talking to Anders Short, who's a fellow Dane, who was saying the red shirt probably isn't enough, and that somebody like Arnout Hellemans, who's a Dutchman who is obsessed by oysters, and he posts oysters all the time, and everyone associates him with oysters, which is quite hard to say. He's saying that's better.
No, I mean it's not hugely stand out, and in this setting, it's not really unusual. Well, right. So, but if you went to a networking event in a red shirt, I think that would do it, right? Because people would definitely notice you, and if that kind of becomes your brand, oh, this is the guy in the red shirt.
Yeah, well, I've been doing it for 5 years, and it used to just be a T-shirt, and then I switched to a handmade shirt that I got in Thailand when I was drunk one day. And that was the day everyone noticed it because it was a quality red shirt and not just a red shirt.
Yeah. And that actually brings me to something to the next I wanted to talk about is to be bold, right? To be really, really bold in standing out because again, most people, they're just afraid of doing something that's different. And there was a point in my life where I moved to a different area of Denmark and I started a school and this was a pivotal time in my life. I was very, very shy. And I really wanted to just completely shift my identity. And I realized that nobody knew me at this school. So they couldn't kind of peg me down and keep me in my box. I could recreate my identity completely like I wanted. And I actually showed up in a red, with a red jacket, right? And I was sticking out like a sore thumb. And I was intentionally doing that for two reasons. First of all, I wanted to recreate my identity. And I wanted to become more confident with myself and more comfortable being the center of attention. I was so uncomfortable around other people. So I said to myself, look, I've got to be comfortable being the center of attention. So that's one of the reasons why I did it. And I stood out like crazy. And everybody knew who I was at that school. And I actually ended up being the president of the school council, or what do you call it? The pupils council or something like that. Which was crazy for me. I mean, it was just insane because I used to hide everywhere and, I was so uncomfortable being around people. And suddenly I was the president of the school.
I really like that. I mean, the idea of being bold. I mean, when I went to my new school when I was a kid, everyone supported Leeds United. And I just said I support Manchester City because it was the team they hated the most. And I thought, that'll keep me out of trouble. Well, either it'll get me into lots of trouble or keep me out of trouble. And it was that being bold. And it did mean that people left me alone, but kind of respected me because respected me, that's a big word, but you're 7 years old.
Sure.
And then I moved to Paris and I had that thing that you just mentioned is I can reinvent myself. Isn't that a wonderful experience?
Yeah.
I mean, you just think, what do I want to be? And you're allowed to be anything you want because nobody knows you from before.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And you became president.
I did, and very successfully. I mean, within that half a year to a year, it was just I was a different person. It was amazing.
And that's a question.
So there's so many aspects.
Is that what then led you on to becoming a writer and becoming an influencer and teaching all this stuff? Whereas otherwise, you might have become a boring accountant. Sorry to all the.
You never know. You never know what have happened. I mean, at that point, I'd read Tony Robbins' "Awaken the Giant Within," so I think it was pretty much cooked in the way that my purpose was laid out in some way. So even if I hadn't done it at that point, I probably would have done it at some point, right?
Right.
But you never know. I mean, I could have ended up in a significantly different place in life, and that's what's so interesting sometimes.
Isn't it great? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So another idea. We've got kind of like 5 minutes left. Another idea for
Yep.
standing out without doing anything special.
Okay. Well, I mean, you can't stand out with doing anything special, right? Because you have to be a little bit different. You have to do something a little bit special, right? But not special in the sense that you have to be like super special, right? But just the smallest tweaks, and that's the thing, is smallest tweaks can make you stand out. And here's one way that you can do it in terms of networking, and that's actually following up on people professionally. Because almost nobody follows up, and when they follow up, if they do, which is like less than 9 out of 10 cases, they will say something like, "Oh, great to meet you the other day. If there's anything I can do for you, let me know." But that's just, I mean, that's honestly, that's lame. First of all, because that's what everybody does. Right. So if whatever that does, it's not going to stand out.
Right.
So and also at that point saying, if there's anything I can do for you, let me know. That's just don't do it. Okay. It's just, all right, let's just say this is lame, because at that point, there's not enough trust for people to reach out and ask for help.
Yeah.
Right. And you don't know enough about what the other person does to say, hey, can you help me with this? Right. So don't do that. What you need to do is to put more effort into building that relationship before you start bringing up any of your offers or what you do for business. You just be of value to them in some way, right?
Okay.
So,
and that comes back kind of what Anton goes on about a lot, which is bring service, bring something to people, your audience, without asking for anything in return, and that drives the relationship forwards, despite
absolutely,
people might think. Keep going. Sorry.
So here's what I do is, I mean, there's so many things you can do, but first of all, be personal, use your personality, be like really, really friendly. Send them a picture, that funny picture or something, right? I send people a funny picture when they friend me on Facebook or LinkedIn, saying thanks for the ad. And also I try to remember something about people's personality that I liked, or something about the business that I liked, or whatever, but mostly about them that I liked. And I said, hey, it was so great to meet you. I was really impressed about your tenacity and what you've done throughout your life. You just continue to go through challenges and whatever. So say something, not just, oh, it was nice to meet you, because again, everybody does. It doesn't mean anything. Go a little bit deeper, right? Be a little bit more personal, and say something that is truly unique to them. Like, I really liked blah 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 about you. Right.
Okay. So, well, what I especially liked about you, Patrick, is that you started off in one small Danish town, moved to another small Danish town, became president, and then threw yourself out to the world to become lead influencer in the world. Patrick M. Powers, thank you very much.
Beautiful. Thank you.
A quick goodbye to end the show. Thank you, Patrick.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, man.
That was awesome.